I've got a sad story. I was in a parking lot and didn't realize it till after I got home that somebody decided to run a shopping cart into the side of my new car, and it made a big impact here, and it ran all the way down about 6 inches away from that mark. Now, most of it could possibly buff out with some compound, but this is all the way down to the metal finish up here, and so there's not really a way to buff that out. I researched online and found a product called Scratches Happen with all the paint necessary to match the color as far as the base coat, the actual paint color, and a clear coat that's going to go on top. It also came with a pair of gloves, which you may decide you may or may not want to use, and also a bunch of different applicators depending on the size of the scratch that you're going to be working with. What I'm going to be doing today is going to go ahead and try to correct this, and I'm going to zoom it in close so you can see it, and let's see if we can't make that look better. Included in the test kit is also one of these instruction cards, and an important part of that is this gray side here that you need to go ahead and put whatever layers and let dry in between times that you plan on putting on your car, and then color matching to make sure that it is in fact the right color. And once you do that, you can hold it up to your car and verify that it's the right color before you get started. So the last thing you want to do is spend all this time doing this to find out it's not the right color. The first step we're going to do in prep work here is we're going to be using some of this new finish Scratch Doctor Scratch Remover that's just going to polish any of the fine edges that are sticking up on here. And then we're going to go ahead and put it on there. And we're going to go ahead and work this in there in kind of a circular motion to kind of polish that area out, applying just moderate pressure. And then we're going to wipe it off with a clean side of our cloth. That part's already looking a lot better. This, obviously, there's some spots still that need to get touched up. The next step is to take a little bit of Dawn dish soap and apply a little bit of it to a wet rag. And we're going to go ahead and clean off. This will actually remove any wax or anything that's down in those cracks and get it ready for the paint. Using our primer, I've shaken this up, and I'm going to use their smallest, which is basically just a toothpick. These are pretty small spots. I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit of this in here. Now it will look almost gray when it goes on, but it will dry a lighter color. And we're just going to slowly touch little spots in here to try to give it, to cover and protect that metal that's down below there, or plastic. Now you don't want to do any excess any more than you have to. So just make sure you just only fill those little crack that you're going to need to do, because this is just the base coat and you're going to be putting several layers of other paint over the top of this. The base coat's had a chance to dry, and so what I think we're going to do is start applying the actual paint. Now this car has a two-step paint before we put the clear coat on, so we're going to start building it up now using a couple coats of the number 1, and then after that we'll do a few coats of the number 2 and see the depth of it. Make sure you've shaken that first layer up pretty good. If you've just got a flat white car or a flat colored car, you won't have the two-step process here. We're just going to do the same thing we did before. Again, touching it up with this and start building up some subtle layers onto here. It's looking a lot better because the dark is gone. I can still see the scratch, of course, but we've applied basically 3 coats within the crack and the deep spots, and I just put 1 coat down the edge of this thing here. I've got the second part here, which is going to add a little bit of the pearl finish to it, and that should help a lot to hide any other imperfections that are there. So let's try to put 1 or 2 coats of this on the same way. And again, I've shaken it up, and I'm going to be using this little applicator here as well. Do the same kind of things we did before. and just dabbing it on. Now that that's had time to dry, I've kind of gone through and picked off some of the excess with a Q-tip. You can kind of rub off any of the excess to try to get it around there. And last thing there is to do is just to apply some clear coat to it, just to kind of shine it up a little bit and then let that cure, so that we can then go ahead and put a little bit of wax on it and try to finish up hiding the rest of it. And the finished product, you know, I could have done it better. I just, it takes a lot of practice with something like this, and I'm finding that out as I go, and I could always remove it. It does look, I would guess, probably about 60 to 70% better. It's perfectly fine from where I'm standing. If you're walking along the car, being along the ridge there, I don't think you'd ever really notice it. That one spot where it was really deep, it didn't quite come out perfect like I would have liked to have had it done. But unless you actually are looking for it, I don't think you'd really pay much attention to it, just walking by the car, you know, at a distance. And that's with a big LED light directly on it, which is not going to be the case typically. If you had it back where just the standard light was on it, you could hardly tell it was there, just barely, just a little nick right there. Again, I think that this product, Scratches Happens, is a pretty good product. The paint color seemed to be pretty on point, so I think with a little bit of practice, it would be a lot easier. I also think if you had simpler scratches or road rash or nicks on the front bumper or something that is a flat surface, it would make it worlds easier. Trying to do this, to me, on a crease and on a vertical surface made it a lot more difficult to do. But I'm still pretty happy with the results, and I don't have to look at the bare metal.